Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Air Commodore Grant Pinder. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australian First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Bertie Joseph Samuel Harding. Bertie Harding was born in 1898 in Rolleston, New South Wales, the son of Joseph and Annie Harding. He grew up in Mudgee and was educated at district schools in Mudgee and Forbes. After gaining his intermediate certificate in education, he went on to work for the Australian Bank of Commerce as a clerk. As a boy, he was well known as an athlete around Mudgee and Forbes and won several schools' athletic championships. Bert's other abiding interest was the church. He was a regular attendee at Sunday school and other church activities, and in his late teens acted as a lay reader in the Church of England in Forbes. Bert Harding enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in early 1916, allegedly putting his age up by 1 month to reach the minimum enlistment requirement of 18 years. He underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas with reinforcements to the 19th Battalion in October 1916. After further training in England, including a training course at the Musketery School of Instruction at Tidworth, he was sent to France with a fair knowledge of the Lewis gun. Less than a month after reaching his battalion, his competence as a soldier was rewarded with promotion to corporal. On the 9th of July 1916, the 19th Battalion took part in a 2nd Division-wide exercise near the French village of Valencourt, a practice operation to test the division's capability in exploiting success. It worked fairly well, according to the war diary. At some point during the operation, however, Corporal Harding was wounded by a bomb blast and was sent to hospital in England for treatment to a damaged thumb. A court-martial cleared him of blame in the matter. Harding was not fit to return to the battlefield until just after Christmas in 1917. In April the following year, he was gassed and spent another month in hospital before returning to his battalion. In August 1918, the Australian Corps took part in the Great British Offensive that would become known as the 100 Days, leading to the armistice in November 1918. Following the huge advance of the first day of the Battle of Amiens, Australian battalions rotated in and out of the front line, launching a series of attacks that inexorably pushed the Germans back towards the Hindenburg Line. On the 11th of August, the 19th Battalion was attacking near the French village of Rancourt when its left company was held up by machine gun fire. With a quarter of its strength unable to advance, the battalion lost contact with its neighbouring battalion and the entire advance was threatened. Later reports state that, with absolute fearlessness, Corporal Harding worked around behind the enemy and heavily bombed them. The suddenness of the attack scattering the enemy, who were shot down by a Lewis gun in their efforts to escape. The fine dash and energy of this NCO removed a difficult obstacle and enabled communication to be established between the two battalions without further trouble. Harding went on to personally capture 2 prisoners and 2 enemy machine guns, and was later recommended for the Military Medal for his marked courage and initiative. It is not known whether or not Bert Harding actually knew he had been awarded the Military Medal. Less than 3 weeks later, his battalion was part of a force that attacked German positions on Mont Saint-Quentin near Péronne. After a difficult river crossing, the men ran up the slope, screeching like bushrangers, with little artillery fire to protect their advance. Against all odds, the heights of Mont Saint-Quentin were captured by the 2nd Australian Division, albeit with heavy casualties. One of those killed was Corporal Bert Harding. He was killed outright in the enemy machine gun fire as the men advanced. Harding's body was later retrieved from the battlefield and buried by his comrades. Today, he lies in the Péronne Communal Cemetery extension under the words, "A father's pride, a mother's joy, a loving brother and faithful friend. Bert Harding was 20 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Bertie Joseph Samuel Harding, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.